Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's dive into a story about how a simple flight turned into a scam showdown with a twist of petty revenge. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Con me out of a good seat? Enjoy your search for your carry-on bag. I paid a pretty hefty extra fee for an emergency exit seat on a Philly to Brussels flight. Total legroom. And I was on the window side, so instead of an armrest on that side, I had sort of a ledge that my tray table folded down into. It was about 8 inches wide and perfect for putting my pillow on and getting into a decent sleeping position. Pure heaven. I boarded, stowed my bags in the overhead, and then settled down to wait for takeoff. A few seconds later, a really cute girl sits down next to me in the center seat. "Are you flying alone?" she asked me. I said that I was, thinking, awesome, she's cute and petite. If she can keep her mouth shut, this will be the best flight ever. But then she follows up with, "I hate to ask you this, but could you switch seats with my fiancé? It's an aisle seat, and I was going to offer this one to the person next to him because it's better. But that person's traveling with his family and can't move. I wouldn't ask, but we just got engaged, and this is sort of a pre-honeymoon trip for us." Now, damn it, I paid extra for that seat. I loved that seat. It was so perfect, so comfy, better than first class even. But everyone around me's looking at me like, "You're an a-hole if you say no. They're kinda, sorta honeymooners. Be a nice guy. It's only a 7-hour flight. Come on, dude." And so I get out of my seat of awesomeness and trundle over to where her yutz of a fiancé is sitting in an aisle seat about 12 rows back. He smiles and thanks me and then scoots up to his unpaid-for premium seat. I stow my bags and take his place, grumbling about it a little to myself. Another minute or so passes, and a guy comes down the aisle and says, "You're in my seat." I'm confused, so I explain how I'd switch with the fiancé and the girl with the cuteness and how my seat was awesome and the tray table shelf, and he shows me his ticket. Sure enough, I was in his seat. Then he explained that the fiancé dude had asked him to switch seats with him so he could trade an aisle seat to get next to cute girl fiancé. He told the guy no, he preferred the aisle and didn't want to switch, and then he'd gotten up and used the lavatory, during which time cute girl and fiancé dude scammed me not only out of the most awesome seat on the plane, but also out of a much less awesome, but at least on the aisle seat. By then, the flight was almost ready for takeoff, and there was no way I was getting my awesome seat back, so I grumbled a lot more, took my crappy middle seat, and buckled up. After we were cruising, I explained the situation to the stewardess. She came back and said the gentleman's already settled in and doesn't want to be separated from his fiancée. I can't make him leave. Then she said she'd comp me for the in-flight snack box and 2 drinks. I grumbled some more and said, okay, and drank my lukewarm airline beers in a blue funk. A little while later, the person from the aisle seat next to the 2 semi-honeymooners stopped by where I was sitting and wanted to speak to me. I don't know if you wanted to hear this or not, but apparently those 2 planned what they did. They bragged over and over to each other about how smart they were to have paid for 1 expensive exit row or bulkhead seat and 1 cheap middle seat. I guess they thought I was deaf or something. I was pretty steamed. I went right back to that same stewardess and told her what the other passenger had told me, but she just shrugged and said how terribly sorry she was and how about another beer. A few hours into the flight, they turned down the lights so everyone could go to sleep. I was too pissed to doze off, so I got up and wandered around a bit. And then I remembered, cute scammer girl came on board with 2 carry-on bags, both of which she shoved into the overhead above seat of awesomeness. Very, very quietly, I opened that bin, taking care not to disturb the 2 a-holes sleeping cuddled up together below. Nobody was watching while I took out one of her bags and took it all the way back to the last row and crammed it into another bin. It was with utter satisfaction that I watched them search in panic for the lost bag. I was way over across the middle section, but I'm pretty sure they saw me wave at them as I shuffled off the aircraft. Those people are the worst. And one of the reasons you should refuse to change seats unless there's a visible reason to. It's your honeymoon? Great. You'll have a week to spend together, starting in 7 hours. And our second story. Neighbors suing us for $3,000. When we first moved into the house almost 2 years ago, our neighbor was quick to introduce herself. She seemed friendly enough, but within a week, she brought up replacing the shared fence. Given that we had just bought the house, we didn't have extra funds for a new fence at the time and politely told her as much. From that point, we only briefly discussed the fence when my husband replaced a few pickets to make sure our dogs wouldn't bother her. Her son even complimented the repairs, noting it would save us all money in the long run just by fixing things as needed, and we all agreed. Fast forward to last summer, our back neighbor, who we share another part of the fence with, let us know 3 months in advance that she planned to replace her fence because her huskies had been escaping. She kindly told us we didn't need to contribute to the cost, which was a relief, and we thanked her. When the day of the replacement rolled around, she gave us a heads up about the work schedule and asked if we could notify our side neighbors about the construction. We did just that, thinking it would be a smooth process. However, when we informed our side neighbor as a courtesy, she suddenly announced, "Well then, I want to replace my fence as well." We explained that we weren't the ones replacing the back fence, but she didn't seem to care. She declared that she was going to have her side of the fence replaced in 2 days and that we'd owe her half the cost for a brand new redwood fence to match the rest of her backyard, even though we had previously shared a cedar fence. We told her that we couldn't afford to do it on such short notice and that we weren't interested in splitting the cost for premium materials we didn't ask for. But she ignored us completely. That Saturday, we woke up to the sound of workers tearing down our side fence and our back gate. To make matters worse, they knocked on our back door asking to borrow our axes and shovels because they hadn't brought their own tools. We were keen on helping, but when she started screaming that we were trying to hinder her fence build, we gave in and let them use the tools. It took them 3 entire days to replace the one side of the fence, and when they finished, they didn't even reattach our gate. My husband had to go out and buy materials to fix the gate and fill in the gaps between the gate and the new fence himself. A few weeks later, we received a certified letter in the mail stating that we owed her $3,000 for the fence. Naturally, we emailed her asking for an itemized receipt, but she never sent one. A month after the fence was installed, heavy rains caused it to bow and start falling over. Her landscapers had to come and fix it, but the fence's structural integrity was already questionable. Now, almost a year later, she's suing us for half the cost of the fence. We feel completely justified in refusing to pay for an overpriced fence that we didn't agree to, that we weren't given proper notice about, and that was installed so poorly it's already falling apart. Update. When the court date finally rolled around, we were more than ready to defend ourselves. Our lawyer laid out everything. We never agreed to pay for the new fence, and the notice she gave us was so last minute it was unreasonable. Plus, her workers had torn down our gate without permission and left us to fix the mess. The judge seemed to take our side, especially when we explained how poorly the fence had been installed, bowing and nearly collapsing after just a month of rain. It was clear that the neighbor had been reckless from start to finish. We filed a counterclaim arguing that she had wrecked a perfectly functional fence and forced us to spend time and money repairing the gate that her workers had carelessly destroyed. We didn't just want compensation for the repairs, we wanted her to understand that we weren't going to let her walk all over us, and the emotional toll this situation had taken on us was no small thing. In the end, the court ruled in our favor. Not only did we not have to pay her a dime, but she was also ordered to cover the costs of our gate repairs. Finally, we could move on without her trying to bully us over something as simple as a fence. It's always nice when a neighbor wanted to sue the OP, but ended up losing in court. And our last story. Entitled mother demands access to my pool. This happened many years ago, but it still blows my mind to this day. My wife and I had just installed a pool at our house, a big deal for us. We were the new family in the neighborhood, and while we hadn't really made any close friends yet, I'd been somewhat friendly with the neighbor's son. Apparently, that was enough for his mother to think she had free reign over our property. One hot afternoon, my wife and I were driving home from running errands when we pulled into the driveway and saw something unexpected. Someone in our pool. Confused and slightly irritated, we parked and walked over to get a closer look. That's when we saw her, our neighbor, casually swimming around with her baby. Like it was the most normal thing in the world. To make matters worse, the baby looked like she'd been crying, possibly from choking on pool water. My wife immediately went off, demanding to know what the neighbor thought she was doing. Without a shred of shame, the woman responded as if this was completely normal, saying she just wanted to cool off with her baby. Then, with unbelievable nerve, she casually mentioned that her baby had slipped under the water, but if anything bad happened, it would be our responsibility. That was it. My wife exploded. The two of them got into a heated argument right there by the pool. I wasn't even sure what to say at that point. I mean, who does that? As they were going at it, one of our other neighbors must have heard the shouting and came over to see what was going on. This guy didn't mince words. He started yelling at the woman, telling her that he'd already warned her about staying off our property and that she had no right to be there in the first place. My wife wasn't done, though. She called the cops right there on the spot. When they arrived, our entitled neighbor tried to play the victim, claiming she was allowed to come over whenever she wanted. But the kicker was when she said that if anything happened to her baby while in our pool, we'd be responsible for the medical bills. Can you believe the audacity? Luckily, the cops weren't falling for her sob story. They sternly warned her that if she didn't leave immediately, she'd be arrested for trespassing and possibly child endangerment. Furious, she grabbed her baby and stormed off. But the story didn't end there. Later that night, her husband showed up at our door threatening to sue us. My wife wasn't having it. She stood firm and told him we had footage of his wife trespassing and attempting to break into our house. He must have realized they were in deep trouble because he suddenly admitted that he had also been snooping around our property. His excuse, he claimed he was looking to borrow some tools. At that point, we knew this family wasn't just bold, they were completely out of touch with reality. That night, we decided to take action. We put up security cameras and plastered no trespassing signs all over our yard. We even started removing the pool ladder every night, just to make it crystal clear they weren't welcome. A few days later, we caught her again. She was sitting by the edge of the pool with her baby and older son, trying to use it like it was a public facility. This time, we didn't waste any time. We called the cops again. After that incident, the message finally seemed to sink in. They left us alone for the rest of the summer. Fast forward 20 years, and no one really talks to that family anymore. The wife eventually divorced the husband, and their kids moved away. Turns out we weren't the only ones they pulled stunts on. They'd tried similar nonsense with other neighbors before we moved in. We were just the new family on the block, and they thought we'd be an easy target. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.